All right, everybody. Hey, guess what? It is Saturday, September 12th, 2020, and I hope y'all enjoyed yesterday the best you could. Here is one of the things I need to let y'all know about. I've been kind of watching it, and it looks like a lot of the blacks are leaving the Democratic Party and going to the Republican Party. Now, we both know left wing, right wing, it's wings from the same vulture, the United States corporation. But I will honestly have to say, I have not seen this many blacks move since what was that? The Underground Railroad. So I think now 2020 should be considered the Underground Railroad 2.0. Ed, why don't you take it away?
That's cute. Anyhow, we'd like to thank you all for joining us. And we appreciate your time. And this is the whole point about we have to learn how to educate one another. Because if we're not doing it, you know, your system ain't doing it for you. And that's the one thing you've got to comprehend, and people have got to comprehend this real reality. Because if people don't start waking up further than what's going on, and I know people are waking up, but, you know, we got to wake up to the point where we start filing the criminal charges on these criminals. This is your mayor, your city council. So that means when they sit there, they're going after, and I want to hit on a little bit of child support tonight. You know, when they're going after you for child support, you want them to prove the contract. Okay, there has to be a contract. So prove the contract. Prove who they owe. Who's the injured man or woman? That's the one thing that I don't want to push out there, because I really don't think that people should push that one. And the reason why I say that one, because you don't want to push that one on that one, because, you know, they can say the woman says, oh, I'm an injured party, even though the woman technically and legally cannot claim that, because she was a willing participant. She knew the outcome of what, why, ifs, and what happens. Just like a man does. And see, that's the point is that, you know, people are not paying attention to what's going on. Everybody wants to fight and argue and play these games, and it's really ridiculous. You know, because, you know, we forgot what it's like to be, what was that? Responsible Americans. You know, you got to pay attention. You know, we have to be responsible Americans. And the other word that comes to my mind is Native Americans. You see, if we're not being Native Americans, we've lost everything. You know, you people don't get it. You know, and that's the one thing I can put up, the structure that I'm putting up and I've been putting up, dealing with a law professor says how the children are owned by the king and queen or the Secretary of State. So when you file the child's paperwork, the state claims it as abandonment property. I've got the administrative rules, I've got the laws, I even got the professors now that are backing up because that's how they make a living off of the children's birth certificate. An insurance bond. So that's the other point too, that when you're doing this, do the GEIME bonds and look at those. And see, this is the one thing when you start looking at this and you're putting things together and you realize that it goes back to when they did this de facto government with the Queen or the King of England back in 1866. So they set it up on a de facto system so that way the public employees got paid their job. Just because the public employees been robbing and pillaging from their funds, it's not the people's responsibility to bail them out. And so we need to put a letter together and make sure it's a lawsuit letter filed on these criminals. And so if I put something together, it's going to probably be at least 6 pages. I can't shorten it up. normally things with me are about 15 pages. I want to make sure the I's are crossed, the T's are crossed. This way you know where the information is coming from. You can backtrack it. Because, see, and that's the one thing. These people are just vultures out there. And I did get a video that I posted up dealing that the proof of the pandemic was planned with a purpose. Of course, it was planned with a purpose. And see, this is the point people don't realize when you go to the doctors. The doctors are writing your information down. Your doctors are not your friend. See, that's why I file my paperwork with the doctors. Because then I hold them liable if my information's out there. And I hold them liable for their circumstances. And see, that's what every man and woman should do. Because this whole thing was a pandemic and the fraud of all this stuff to shut the government down. And you don't realize they made multi-billions of dollars shutting the government down off of your straw man account when they reset the funding. They reset your budgets. So some of your funding goes back to zero. Now you're only working like 400 or 500 when you used to have 107 or 300,000 people that were sharing your birth certificate. Because all that contract was a 99-year contract. And so, yes, that stuff is real. This is not, fake news. Everything that's been able to be produced, I've been able to produce it with evidence, and so has my associates and friends around me. And see, that's the one thing. That people are not paying attention to the circumstances of what we're living. And we're not. I was just back up in Portland, and I had to deal with Black Lives Matter. I didn't know how I'm going to have to deal with it, but I had my arms on me. I ain't that ignorant. I grew up around this stuff, so. And that's the one thing. You guys have got to pay attention to the structure. Now, I put it up the one structure with Florida. On Florida Statute 39.402, placement in shelters. So this is how they get the placement in shelters, to get the kids so they can start getting the funding, not only for the state and county funding to bill it off, then they can go into the Section 4 of the Social Security Act that William Jefferson Clinton put in place. So, I'll be posting this up. The Florida statute is on the Facebook pages. We'll get it out on Civil War 1866, Lawful Bloodline Americans. We'll get it out on Recall Cape Brown. I'll repost this stuff, even though I just posted it 3 days ago. But I'll repost this stuff, and I'll put this through the video tonight. And then I got a couple videos I'm going to be putting in on children's child support. Because this is the one thing that people need to know on child support. You're paying the state, so they're taking the money. They're not doing anything for the kids. They're not helping the kids. They don't care about the kids. And this is the saddest part, that people think that, we're going to go here and we're going to go to the church and the church is going to save us. Well, I hate to tell you, folks, but the church ain't there to save you. Church is there to make money and living, just like the cops and the DHS officers and everybody. They all make a living off of this. It's a fact, And like I said, I have the evidence, and we'll get it posted up here so you can actually read it. Because if you people ain't reading this stuff and starting to file and own yourself, I don't care if you're 60 years old. If you don't file to own yourself, the state still owns you, because you're still registered as a child by the state. And you got to realize this is a fact. This is not a joke. And then who's the guardian of the child? The state. And the state is the state of Florida. They claim it as their child. Because how they get away with it, because you registered that child with the state, and you said that the state owns a child, and that's under even Florida Statute 39.402. And that's where it says a child possessed of assets are stated. So, I mean, the childs are an asset to the state. They're not an asset to you because these people don't care about you because, remember, they got a company to bail out. You know, they're claiming they're bankrupt. So if they're bankrupt, how come they got a job? If your business goes bankrupt, like tens of thousands of businesses in the United States went bankrupt on this fraud that we've been introduced on, you know, and everybody keeps walking around with masks. And I find it so hilarious and stupefying that people are driving down the road and they're the only one, or maybe another one, or a couple other people in the car, and everybody's wearing a mask. I mean, you know, can we say stupefied? Because this is so interesting when you're watching a lot of people driving on the road, and they don't realize that when they're breathing the carbon monoxide back into their lungs, it's suffocating them to death, and it's irreversible. See, that's sort of like, what was that deal they used to put in houses? You know, the same thing. See, this is one thing people are not paying attention to what's really going on in their circumstances and what's out there. And so when I posted this stuff up, and I'll make sure it's on the webpage tonight, too, on the new.org page, but on the Florida statute, they even quote going back to 1866 in the statute with the federal government, and it goes back to dealing with 1851, 15 JP filing 450. And then it was amended. They put an amendment into it, and that was in 1975. But then they have a UCC form now, the 402 form. And this is where the suggestion that I've seen a couple people have asked, hey, should I do a 1095 on the child support stuff? Well, I mean, if you do it, we don't know if that's resistance or not, because how many people have been to jail that we don't know that might have filed that thing and we're not aware of yet? So before I even recommend or suggest something like that to anybody, let's do the research, find out how well it's worked. Find out who's doing what. Find out how it's been done. Find out the success rate. Because I sure wouldn't want to put anybody in jeopardy. So we've got to look at these things and take a step back and, you know, research this a little bit more. Now, I got this other video that I'll be posting up on the child support deal in the Facebook pages. And so I'll have that up here in a little bit on them. But I've been posting a lot of stuff on the Facebook pages of new.org and trackers, United States for Elected and Public Employees Oversight Committees, the Recall K. Brown, as well as the United States, and then as well as for the Civil War 1866 page. And so these are all on Facebook, and please take a look at these Facebook pages. There's so much posted that you'll open your mind up, that you will be amazed at what you start learning. The rabbit hole becomes a point where it just gets so enticing, sometimes you just can't back off. You know, so and that's the one thing. You know, and I always love it because, you know, don't forget they have the Capital City Lawyers Association. They're a nonprofit agency. You know, and that's the one thing that always gets to me. They got all these nonprofit agencies out there. They're writing it off, and then they're throwing debt on it when they should be writing credits on it. And these lawyers know it, but see, they're going through they're trying to bankrupt this country, they think. But that debt is not our debt. Read the law. The debt that is they're claiming that is our debt is the British government debt. It's like the Senate and House when they pass a bill. That's a funding bill. That's a bill that they try to pass to us, the taxpayers, and we're foolish enough to pay for it, because that's a bill that is supposed to go to the bankers. The interest is supposed to pay for it. And we posted those arguments up there. We have done those arguments on many, many occasions, and this is the whole point, is realizing what these arguments are doing for us by bringing us out. And the other point is is filing your commercial rights. See, I filed on my UCC, and everybody says, oh, you need to do it this way, that way. I just filed and I owned it. So then that way, what I did is then when somebody wants to use my UCC or any of my information, my Social Security number or anything, it's called identity theft because I filed to own it. And everybody says, well, the state owns it. You can't do that. Well, they give me the paperwork. Who says I can't own it? I noticed that when I owned the paperwork, I don't see the cops around me. I don't see the harassment that I used to have around me. So, and then when I travel, I haven't traveled in a covered wagon per se as yet because of what I've gone through. Because I do take some of the threats seriously, especially when they're told you they're going to kill you in the name of Kate Brown. And this is not bullshit, people. This is how these people are squirming and screaming. I mean, come on, look at Fact Check on Facebook. I've done the research. Facebook Fact Check on Facebook is the University of Maryland, that the foundation is out of University of Columbia in Columbia, Washington, D.C. Owned and operated by the Vatican. Yes, you type it in, that goes right to the Vatican. So this is the one thing that you've got to start doing and realizing this. See, and you got all these people out there doing all this crazy stuff on the stuff that we need to do. And that's the one thing. It always gets to me how these people are going in and they're using religion to cut the property taxes or taxes. See, you're not doing anything. You just prove that you're not an American. See, the thing is by law, bloodline natives are not to pay taxes at any reason at all. And the bloodline American goes back to 1866, to the Civil War. Read the treaties. Read the Laramie Treaty. See, the Laramie Treaty was the one that really nailed all this stuff. So it's like when you sit there and you start putting, like I said, you're putting this stuff together and you're starting to accept the facts of what's going on. Because like I said, all this stuff has been planned to screw this country up. And anybody's been paying attention to anything in the real world for the last 10 years, since the Twin Towers went down, it's already been planned. That's why I've been preaching all this shit, grow food, collect rainwater. I mean, come on, if you ever paid attention to the bullshit of Obama and his family. See, I mean, we've had presidents that are corporation members, and they get voted in by the corporation. Because why don't people, have you ever read the 17th Amendment and how it works? Why do you think that they put in the swing vote? That's the point. People have got to wake up. Now, your police departments, like I've been telling you, they're non-profit. They're set up. But now they're trying to figure out which side they want to do. Well, it's like, that's the one thing that you've got to realize. That if we, like I said, we've got this stuff that is really going on. I mean, I've got this thing on Facebook. If you share this, you might be disconnected. This is one thing that, people are not paying attention. How come you're not Native Americans? You're not standing up. I mean, I'm watching this stuff with immigrants coming through, and, immigrants are putting their stuff together and really screwing us. And the native people of this soil have no education and intelligence in their brain. There's only really realistically a handful of us out there, and trying to get the masses, we need somebody to come up with a suggestion to pull these people in. Because, we're on a short deal. The only way that's going to stop this public servant structure is filing the criminal charges on the perpetrators, the men, women, and judges. And people go, oh, that don't work. It does too work. You're not paying attention. It's been working. There's been police departments shut down. There's been judges that have been put in jail now. So these things are working. Yes, it's taking molasses, and yes, it's really frustrating, and I have to agree with it. You know, to me, it's very disturbing that it takes this long on some of the stuff that's going on. You know, it's really disturbing that the stuff, now they got these surveys on Facebook out there. Should Hillary go to jail? Should Obama go to jail? Should, you know, Miss Obama go to jail? And if they got these surveys out there, how come you're not paying attention, folks? That tells you what's really going on. They've already admitted the fraud, corruption, and damage that they're doing to your families and your children. That's why we want the borders closed. That's why we want the fence and chain link fence and the concrete walls up. Because we have a right to know who is in our country. You have a right to know who's in your backyard. I do as well. So I'm not sitting out there and asking the people to, you know, do something they wouldn't want done to themselves unless they're a foreigner. Oh, I got to throw the attention out. I mean, come on, look at our House and Senate and the Oregon State and most of the Congress and government. You know, it's all bullshit. You know, we're losing this living crap of bull, and I still can't believe that so many people are not standing up to it. You know, and that is the whole thing. So many people are not standing up to it. You know, file your paperwork. Like I said, if you are native, you know, look at the medical records. File on your medical records. File to own yourself. Because when they start going up and rounding people for FEMA, it's like, show your papers. I'm not a belligerent. I'm not involved in your BS with your foreigners. I have a right on this soil. I'm not a privileged personnel. And see, that's where people have got to start making this reality come through in their brain, because we're not paying attention to the truth. I mean, it's like I said, when you're going around and you're watching this crazy stuff going around in your neighborhoods, you know, I mean, you know, the fires in my county were set and burned by, you know, organization. When you click on Joe Biden or Camellia, whatever the terrorist name is, on their links, it goes right to these organizations. Doesn't that tell the general public anything? You know, are people not buying this stuff? You know, it is so disturbing. You know, it is so disturbing when people are not catching on to what's going on right now today. So when we're not paying attention, see, think about how this is affecting you and your children. I mean, how many people that are got food growing, they got collecting rainwater, how are they protecting themselves? You know, what are they doing to protect themselves? I mean, you know, that's the point. How are we protecting ourselves when you think about it? You know, I mean, right now you got raiders that are invading people's homes. People are in Portland. That's like, it was funny as heck to me. You know, they started raiding Tom Wheeler's house. You know, Tom Wheeler had to move out, you know, literally leave town. Well, people are paying attention to the BS that is going on. And see, that's the point, is that you got to realize this stuff going on right now around you is BS, so stand up. And the way it is, we're going to get some templates. I'm working on that right now. I appreciate that Chief Black Crowd took over for me last week, because I've been in and out with that, and then the smoke, and then the other stuff, you know, and then, you know, at least it hasn't been so bad to a degree. You know, at least I got oxygen here, so that way it hasn't been that bad with the fumes, the smoke, because, I mean, at least I got masks. But, I mean, not everybody has that, so I can imagine what kind of damage is going on in their lungs. You know, that's the one thing that, you know, people are not paying attention to what this reality really is. So anyhow, I'm gonna get ready to open up the floor, but I want people to start paying attention to the circumstances of what you're gonna have to do. Because you got to collect rainwater, you got to start producing this stuff for your family. Because if the grocery stores go close, like they're predicting, and they are predicting for a month of no grocery stores. And that's the one thing, because I don't know if people are aware, but in California, right now they have you on good and bad days on electricity. Odd and even. I mean, they've got blackouts in California. They're lasting 4 to 5 days right now. So this is not a joke. And also, too, the other point is, just so you know, that for those drug dogs cannot sniff homes without a warrant. So that was a Supreme Court decision, 5-4. So that's the one thing, is that you want to make sure that you know this stuff, because they can plant stuff on you. Trust me, as a former guy that hung around policy offices, I know that they do it. So when people say, oh, they wouldn't do that, that's like saying a priester wouldn't do what he's done to the children. Yes, there's good and bad and evil out there. But see, the evil could be controlled. See, we don't have to allow the evil to happen. See, we can stop the evil, but see, that way, oh, that's right, then people wouldn't have a job. Because if you stop the evil, rape, robbing, and pillaging would disappear, and you need those jobs. So anyhow, I just want to tag up with you guys and think about what's going on. Just think about it, because we got to start standing up on the circumstances more and more. And so I want to start getting a group together. We can start getting a group together on this. This would be one of those things that would be wonderful for all of this, to start doing, let's say, an every other day or every third day seminar group on this. We do it live, because we can do this stuff. But getting the information out there so it's done so people are not confused. This is the one thing I'm hearing from people, that they're confused. They don't get it. And my point is, you can't read the writing in front of you. And I guess it's difficult for people because they've been that mentally messed up, I guess. So it's not picking on anybody. It's just the way the corporation has done to us. So, and that's the one thing. You've got to remember, they've been starting to do that since we were children, and not only that, they were doing that when they were doing vaccinations on us and everything, as they're doing to the kids today. I would not do a flu shot. I do not recommend vaccinations. I haven't had one since I was about 12. Won't do it again. The last thing I ever had was a tetanus shot. So, I won't do it, because I want to protect myself, my life. And I'm going to trust these doctors with my life. I want to know if they have my best interests in view. And that's the one thing. You want to make sure that you put that in a statement to a doctor. You can always ask these things of your medical provider. Who's your provider? He's not your God. He's not your mommy. He's not your dad. He's providing medical treatment. And if they're not doing that, then you go after them and, write your letters and make sure that they're honorable. And I've done this stuff. I've done it myself. I'm not out there pulling punches or saying things I wouldn't personally do. So I want to make sure that you guys get this point, because if we're not protecting ourselves and our children, nobody else is doing it. And look at Kate Brown's record in Oregon Territory. I still can't believe that woman is still here after 4 recalls on the woman. When I first started, my original recall was at April 17, 2017. When I filed my original one on Kate Brown. You know, the Secretary of State and everybody's panicking because I did it as de jure. I didn't do it as the corporation. So doing it as de jure, oh, that's right, they have to be lawful voters and prove that they are voters under the 17th Amendment, even though the 17th Amendment is, you got to read the 17th Amendment. Basically, it's saying that how you keep the the war of the Democrats and the war of the Republican Party still going at each other. Because originally voting was not part of this country. When it was started, founded, whatever, it was not part of us. Voting was something that was added in after the Civil War. And look at the word civil. I don't mind being civil, but I don't like being abused. You know, it's like when you look at some of these photos of some of these cities and towns that have been literally burned out, and then they got videos that they're starting to show again with the lasers coming up on these towns. So it's like, you know, who's doing what? How can we do this? And that is the one thing. How do we solve it? And the only way we're going to solve it is write the criminal complaints on your servants. There is no God. There's no judge and jury. There ain't nobody's going to do it. By law, man has to write the criminal complaints, or woman. The injured man or woman, by law, has to write the criminal complaints. So if you're not the injured man or woman, you are suffering. So, anyhow, let's go ahead and open the floor.
Before we open up the floor, I do want to point out that in the news you'll hear racist, you'll hear about the neo-Nazis, you'll hear about the KKK, all that, and they always blame it. The Democratic side of the vulture will always blame it on the Republican side of the vulture. But if you go and look at the true roots of like the KKK, the Democratic Party was the ones that founded it in order to have more control over the black community. The Hitler, the actual Nazis, they went through democratic processes, democracy, as you'll even hear most call it nowadays. We here in America are a republic, not a democracy. Think on that. If you go democracy, you're going neo-Nazi, you're going Nazi, you're going KKK. You're basically saying, hey, we'll go with mob rule, and eventually I'm going to be bent over and, right up the, anyways. So with that, guys...
And I'm accepting it!
Yeah, you're accepting it. In fact, you might as well get some Vaseline ready, because it's going to come to you with democracy. With republic, you actually are protected by the Constitution, the individual's rights.
And the treaties.
And the treaties, yes. But the Constitution is basically, the treaties are the law of the land. Therefore, you want a republic, not a democracy. And you don't want courts. If you have to go to a court, go to an Article 3 court. You don't go to these admiralty courts, these tribunals, or...
District courts, district courts.
District courts, civil courts, or any of that. You go for an Article 3. Article 3 is federal level. 99.999.999%. Yeah, I put 2 points in there just to add an extra point. Most of the civil and circuit and all that do not want the federal attention. Soon as they get the federal attention, they freak out. And that's fact, right, Ed?
That is a fact. That's how they're getting some of their budgets pulled. That's why everybody's panicking, because people are saying, close the police departments down because they're raping us and stealing from us, and now we know it's true.
All right, so with that, you guys have fun talking. I'm going to shut up now.
Bye-bye. All participants are unmuted.
So, all right, anybody else would like to bring up something tonight? Anybody? Go ahead.
Yeah, also to bounce off what you and Lynch just said, there's a guy who had a district attorney arrested. Literally. You can see it on the judge's face and the district attorney. The minute you start using federal codes, they are lost. They have no idea what the heck you're talking about because they're so used to using statutes that when you start doing that, they're lost. They have no, they don't know what to do. They're not sure how to respond. I watched it myself with this guy, and he literally told the bailiff, "Go ahead, arrest him." And then the district attorney was looking at the judge like, "You want to help me out here?" Because he already taken his keys and his wallet and handed it to a colleague and asked him, "Please give this stuff to my wife because I'm going to jail." So
do you got that video connection so we can get it out and share it?
I can email it to you as soon as the show's over with because I'm not at the computer right yet.
Okay, yeah, do that, and I'll make sure it gets up and put out so people can look at that, because these are things that we need to know what, why, and how. See, like I preach all the time, it's our system. We have to know the system instead of whine and cry about it.
But not only that, but then everybody needs to literally, stop being scared. You're telling us what to study. Study it. That's it. That's what you don't. It's not that hard. Trust me. I've already read the federal evidence and the federal courts, and I'm like going, oh man, this is a cakewalk. I mean, to do it, it's the paperwork I'm having problems with. Making sure that it's done correctly before I turn it in. Other than that, everything else. I mean, like you said, you don't talk. You put every friggin' thing you want to say in that daggum document or instrument so that you don't really have to say anything. Let the instrument speak for you because they can't get out of it. They're already, you've already taken the shark out of the water. Now you have it in where you can handle it. They can't fight. So basically all you have to do is just hang them up and gut them.
That's right. And so these things are changing. They are turning around. And so when I watch a lot of these people do these Zoom and Groom on the talk shows, and they do this to get their hand out, and it's interesting because, I don't want to get into some of these people's names, me and Chief Black Cloud have been discussing this, and it's like I really don't want to go after them. But some of these guys, like, the Law Corner and stuff, be cautious because they're lawyers and they're out for the money, and these people send them money and then they never get anything. They never get their case written, and they get out there because people talk about them, they pass them around their websites, and it's really frustrating. And that's the other point too, is that you need to realize, you need to come to the realization of the circumstances of what, why, and how. How do we do it? How did this happen? How did we get here? How did we become here? And what was in the past before we got to the present? And that's the one thing when you're doing your court case, you got to look at that because you already went through the past and present. Now you got to foresee the future. And a lot of that is by learning how to use the administrative rules, learning the structure of the Constitution, and the other major part is the Indian treaties, and find out if your bloodline goes back to 1866. Because that's when the Civil War, when they did that federal funding and all that stuff started, was based on lawful bloodline natives. Wasn't blamed on anything else or started from anything else. So that's the one thing is read your real history. You know, because there's so much history out there that is truthful, and there's a lot of history out there that's bull. I mean, I can't remember the one guy we got on the deal. We've had him on. We played his videos, but his videos, man, he talks like a Democrat. He keeps it in the system, and people buy into this stuff. See, if you want freedom, we're supposed to file to own our freedom. If you want freedom, you have to know you're lawful or legal. But they're not going to tell you that one, because if they did, they wouldn't have a job. Their job is more important. Remember, you know, that's the other thing that always pisses me off. How come we got immigrants in our own country working in our own government when government employees are supposed to be, by the federal contract of 1899, are supposed to be native? Oh, you don't know that we had a contract going back then. You know, we do have employment contracts that go back that are not brought out. And so I get it. And so most people don't get this. And so by bringing this to your forefront, educating, and it's like you were saying, read the book of evidence. Learn how these things work. I'll post up some of this stuff, and I'll post up the stuff for the Ninth Circuit Court, because I'm on their structure. I get their court cases every day. I get their YouTube videos when they send them out. I get the federal videos when they send them out. So, I mean, that's the point, you know. I mean, there's only so much you can do in a 20-hour day or 18-hour day. You know, I mean, you know, unlike most people, I just live on the internet because I don't have a family structure. And sometimes I have to get reminded that, you know. I know a couple people don't mind to let me know that fact. So, but, I mean, this is the point. What are we going to do? How are we going to protect the children? Who's going to have the right over the child? You know? And the one thing is that, like I said, when you register a kid, who are you giving a kid to? Your woman? Yourself? Your mommy? Your granddaddy? Grandma? Or are you giving that kid to the state? Corporation run. See? And this is real. We're going through that. So I'll be posting this stuff through the talk show tonight on the stuff we got from the professor that admitted it from a major university, who admitted that when a child's born, that when you register with the state owns the child. So, and people think, oh, I have a right. And I always love the phrase, nothing against religious people, but God's going to protect me. Your kid's in custody. Where's God? Aren't you supposed to be proven of a crime before you go to jail? You're not supposed to be held, technically, for anything unless it's a capital offense. By law, they can't put you in jail, but they do that because they can go off your strawman account and bill your, what do they call that account? Public account off your strawman with your Social Security number. And that's the one thing you've got to file on your Social Security numbers to own them. And then also, too, you got to sit there and make sure that you file criminal charges for anybody who uses your Social Security number. Even if you type in online, you go to any of these People Plus or, Verify, People Verify, Ancestry.com.
Any credit check they ask for your Social Security, your car insurance, your medical insurance, your house insurance, they're all asking for your social. Life insurance, everything.
Bank account.
Following all of them.
Well, not only that, they're billing it to you so you're paying yourself. That's how they're getting around it. Because you're paying yourself by doing this. That's why you put the structure, how to find your accounts, how to put the stuff together. Because when you start realizing that, holy shit, you realize that most of the jobs you've done that you paid yourself out of your Social Security card, and you start going, wait a minute, and then immigrations are getting it, and immigrants have no right in this country, so they just use them as dead identities, and they use them as dead voters. And that's the way it really is. So when you hear this stuff in the media about dead voters, that's what they're talking about. Besides literally dead voters, but you're talking about immigrants who are committing fraud. But they can't come out and tell you that, because if you actually knew the truth, you might want a DA to go to jail. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that information, because I still would like to see the DA in Multnomah County go to jail for not prosecuting these criminals. For destroying public right-of-way, public land. Three-quarters was almost $1 million in damage that they're not being held liable for. So I think that Tom Wheeler and the city council should be held liable and pay for the damage. Seeing that's an idea. I didn't even think about that one until now. I could write that one up. Because I could charge the city council and the mayor for damage of liability for not doing their oath of office statement. And then ask them in a letter request whose oath did they take an oath of office to. I have to drop that one up and put that out here. I have to be in 72 hours because I got a couple of projects ahead of me right now first. But that is a good idea. See, these are things that we could drum up here and come up with these ideas on the city mayor where you're at, or town, or whatever, and ask them the questions. It's like you got a guy that says, always ask the right questions. You want to know this budget line. How does this budget line work? You want an explanation of the budget line. Put it in writing. And then if you don't get a response back, or you get something back and it's not what you're requesting, and then your letter back to them is requesting the letter stating, so you're not aware of how these procedures work, so how are you in this position, and are we paying you for a position that you're not eligible for? Because you just told me you had no clue how this budget works. Well, why are you in that administrative position? Because administrators, mayor, city council, all these people, they're supposed to know these circumstances beyond a shadow of a doubt, because they're supposed to sit there and read this stuff day in and day out. They're not supposed to sit out there in a party day in and day out. They got to read their administrative rules of how their system works. Not going in and saying, I'm almighty authority that we've been watching. So that's why we're going to be looking forward to that one, to see that one on that prosecutor being done, because I can see where that one's coming from, because there are some things that are changing. And that's the one thing, the Democrats are freaking out, the public employees are freaking out, because they've got so many charges that thousands of people like myself have written against these people over literally the last 20 years. Okay, and they've been covering it up. So now it's time we got to explode this. Because if we don't, we're all going to be in FEMA camps, and we're going to be one of those people that are going to ask for a piece of bread and be told, well, it ain't Friday. Feed day is Friday. So,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Another thing, you're right about that. They don't know their procedures, policies or procedures, because, I don't know, did anybody pay attention to what their governors signed and mandated? Because if you go back and look, they were supposed to, the governor was supposed to put it out that he was going to hold a quorum, and then he was going to turn around and talk it over, the meeting of the minds, and then make a decision, and then sign a mandate. No, from what I saw, Governor Abbott, he just turned around, signed it, sent it over to the Secretary of State, had them stamp it, came back to him, and he says, I'm signing this mandate that everybody's supposed to wear a mask. And since then, he just continues it. The thing is that Okay, so you mandate it, but it's still not law. So then why is everybody still wearing a friggin' mask?
Well, Minnesota governor just got nailed for that, and the entire Senate filed on him.
Also, that let's not forget what you sent out. That woman over in Florida, was it?
Oh yeah.
Palm. Yeah, over in Florida, that she turned around and she literally walked up and said, "Now you serve, you serve, you." I liked her setup. I saved that. I was like, "Oh, hey, that's nice," because I mean, we all can use it because it's all federal codes. It's not, hide and seek like they're doing with these penal codes or statutes that if you go from different state to different state, it's in different locations. I mean, still says the same thing, but it's in a different location because they're states.
Well, see, that's the one problem that we have where people say the states have the right to run the states. And it's like they have the right to run the states without violating the treaties and the Constitution as it's clearly stated.
Yeah, that's the thing. And here, legislators are passing stuff that is already null and void, but everybody keeps saying, "Oh, but it's the law." Really? Is it not against the Constitution or the Bill of Rights? Doesn't it restrict you from you traveling? And then also the Supreme Court already ruled that states cannot license. So then what the heck are you doing with a license traveling from point A to point B, and then they turn around and stop and give you a ticket? And now are they licensed to even do it? And then are they even lawyers? Are they licensed as lawyers to even do it? So, I mean, all this stuff you can hit these people on all daggum day, but you've got to read. Reading means reading. That's the only way you're going to learn this stuff and really spend time studying it, because that's all these people do every daggum day. That's all they're doing is they're using the same thing over and over again. But if you come in with something totally off the wall to them, I don't know, was it federal codes and Constitution and Bill of Rights? I've already asked quite a few people. Half the people only know maybe one, if not none, of the Bill of Rights. Or know it all. They don't know any of this. Because why? Because we're so busy watching the boob tube or going around chasing skirts and everything, and just staying busy. That's what they want us to do. That's why they pull this stuff up. Go back and study your history. It's the exact thing Rome did. Rome did the same thing. Started making all these coliseums so people could have fun and everything. And they were so busy. And then look what happened. It collapsed. So.
Well, that's why I like Saturday Night Live, has a good video out. It's called Gods. And it's 7 minutes. Watch it. It explains your democracy system, because people go, "Oh, we're a democratic democracy," or "We're a democratic republic." No, we're not a democratic republic. Morons use that. That's like using the word sovereign citizen. Either you're a sovereign or a citizen. So, remember, a citizen owes his due to the king or queen of his administrative rules. So it comes down to these simple solutions. So the point is that we're going to have to put some of these lawsuits up, put it up. I got to do some tax plates. I'm trying to bounce around and get a lot of this stuff done. One guy. But doing the research too. But like I said, anybody wants the last email I put out on the structure of what these experts said on how the state owns your children, and you really want to read what they say. And if you don't understand a word, go to the legal dictionary or any other dictionary and type it in. Learn the wording. Because there's words there that will be used and you think you know it, but I guarantee you don't know it. You think it sounds good, and then when you do the research on what the word means, you go, huh? Excuse me. We're still smoked out here in my county. And then they proved that, our fires were deliberately set in our county. So, but anyhow, it's proving these stuff because, like I preach all the time, you don't want hearsay evidence. Because you have hearsay evidence, and it takes you a while to get it because you go, I saw this with my eyes, and it's like, if you didn't write it down right when you saw it with your eyes, that thing can always change. How many times? So that's why it's always good to get a camera, and, and the Instamatic cameras that they still make today, that you get the Instamatic, they can never be changed or altered. So those are 100% evidence in court compared to, even a cell phone, because they could even be possibly altered. Depends on, somebody knows how to do that. You know what I mean? So, but anyhow, we've got these things that are in our hands and in our grasp right now. How are we going to do it? Now, the other point was child support, too, is ask them who, this is the one thing I found out, ask them who is in the bar who owns the state corporation charter. Because one state member of the bar is the one who owns your state corporation charter. And they don't want you to know that. Because it's like in Oregon, it's Dexter Johnson, so he's owning it, so he's representing Kate Brown. He's legislative counsel. So, that's the one thing that we got to start standing up more and more in the state, collecting stuff and get it out, because I'm going to try to get these letters out so people can print on Facebook and start getting them out so we can get them so people can start comprehending how to file the criminal charges. How these people harmed me. Kate Brown and the Oregon State House and Senate legislators, they are liable for the damage they have caused. So, I got to work on that one. I got a couple more letters I got to finish up, and I got to work on that one. But that one's going to be a long one, because we do that, and when I get that one out, we're going to want that one to be passed around to every family member, everybody. Because if they don't start filing the criminal charges, this country, we're screwed. You think you're not speaking Chinese now, but trust me, if you don't do it soon, you will be. That's the one thing people do know, what's going around the pike. Look at China's stocks. Look at what they've done just in the last 60 days. Yeah, and I know most of you don't have time to pay attention to stocks and all this stuff, how it works. But like I said, I just sit there and watch it, and I got numerous people out there that send me stuff all the time. And when I get it, I post it up on Facebook, and I'll get it out there, And then some people tell me, I'll get stuff sent to me, and it's called timing, how to get it out in timing. So, but that's the point, how are we doing this? So, and we realize that some of the kids are paying attention, they are learning a little better than they were. And that has to do with the parents doing that and bringing up different things or getting other people involved in their knowledge. So, anyhow, anybody else? No one likes to pipe in tonight, huh? Okay, well, we appreciate you piping in, and the others. What we'll do is we'll call it an evening. Everybody knows my email, new.Oregon Trackers. Go do that. Send me your email. I'll make sure you get the files, so that way you can download them and save them. Some of the files I have you're going to want to save, especially with law enforcement of the way it really is compared to what people think it is. There's only one law enforcement agency in the entire United States. It's called the United States Marshal's Office. That's it. The sheriffs were not brought in by Lincoln until the Civil War. Yeah, and that's the one thing I always like, the line in Blazing Saddles. When the black sheriff uses that line in Blazing Saddles about the sheriff, it's just, that's how it happened. They used real historical lines. So, anyhow, with that, nobody else has got nothing to say, then we'll call it an evening. And may the Creator and Great Spirit bless you. And most of all, if it wasn't for the Creator, we wouldn't have father, we wouldn't have mother, we wouldn't have life, we wouldn't have dirt, soil, we wouldn't have our trees, we wouldn't have our forest. You know, sorry, I don't know where this other thing comes from. I don't deal with foreign countries that come into our country that tells us to dictate to us how we're going to live by their standards. So I think most people got that one straightened out or cleared out. So anyhow, with that, we'll call it an evening, and we thank everybody for joining us, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for listening to Disclaimers by Ed Johnston. It is Saturday, September 12th, 2020, and even some that I've known or that I watched that are from other countries on YouTube, they're even talking about how they can see a civil war is coming to America. If outside countries can see that we're already the civil war is already starting because of the pro-fascist FETA or whatever they say, Antifa, but it's pro-Tifa. The Black Lives Matter. I thought BLM, Bureau of Land Management, was a copyright, and if they're using BLM, shouldn't they be sued over the copyright infringement?
That's a good idea. Never thought about that one.
I mean, there's so many things like that you just got to look at. But the thing is, we are already, and people say civil war is coming. Guess what? It's here already. It's just softball. It's Little League right now. How many of you can go out there and actually say, hey, yeah, I'm voting for Trump, or I like Trump, and you most keep their mouths shut unless they're one of these snowflake liberal idiots out there, because they don't want the conflict, because the majority of the population here in America are conservative. They have conservative values, you know. I'll deal with my life, you guys deal with your life, just don't infringe on mine, and we're good. That's what America usually is. Now you start, you whack the bee's nest a bit, and you're going to see all these bees, all the worker bees, the soldier bees, everybody come out and just swarm. And the thing is, it's being whacked. You've seen, if you've watched the news, you've seen how bikers, I'm not talking Hell's Angels, although they did show up at a few spots, bikers, as in like the 50, 60-year-olds that are on those pleasure bikes, the ones that go from one end of the country to the other during the summer because they want to relax. You got those who enjoy biking just because biking's cool. I mean, you got those. They are showing up to places and stopping most of a lot of these riots, and they are riots. Now, sorry, Ed, with me saying these key words, this video is most likely going to get pulled down. But here's the other thing. Ed flat out said the whole sovereign citizen thing. Well, that's the thing. Sovereign citizen is considered an oxymoron, a contradiction in terms. Sovereign means you are not beholden to anyone except yourself and what you hold. Citizen is you are a subject of a corporation, a country, an organization. So you can't say...
An organization doesn't mean a church. It doesn't mean religion.
Yeah.
They do program people very well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly. But here's the thing. Sovereign citizen is like saying military intelligence. Or a intelligent moron. or an honest politician, or a loyal Democrat. I mean, seriously, it's an oxymoron.
Dehydrated water.
Yeah, dehydrated water. I mean, come on. Or, you know, how about let's stop calling it an oxymoron. Let's call it a Pelosi moron, or a Schumer moron, or a Schiff moron. I mean, it fits as far as I'm concerned. Stop listening to the goddamn media. The media is telling you lies. Even Fox News. You listen to Tucker Carlson. He's got that really sad face and, oh, I am so serious, but he misleads you. Hannity at least tries to stay within truth, but you can still hear him fudge up because he's pushed to call it a democracy or to push a certain direction. Bongino, he's great, but he is not, or Dan Bongino, he's great, but he is still part of the corporation.
And he even admits it.
Yes, he even admits it. But the thing is, they're all part of the corporation. We want to get away from the damn corporation. That's what this show's about. Get out of the corporation, live your own life, go out, be a sheep herder, be a cow farmer, be a basket weaver, whatever can get you what you need and help you provide for your family, your bloodline, without all these rules and regulations and codes and statutes that the corporation has for its own corporate members. You are not a member.
Don't be a sheeple.
Yeah, don't be a sheeple, as my wife puts it.
Well, really, they're claiming you're a member because you're a Social Security number.
Right. And yeah, I know it'd be hard. Hell, I mean, if our great grandparents actually did this ahead of time and set up and got allodial title soil and everything, we would actually be all right, and we would actually have a relatively safe life. It'd be easier. But since we have to step up and do it now, it's most likely our grandchildren that will start being able to have a few days off or a day or two off a week. Until then, it's us, our children are going to have to work every day of our lives in order to get things, to have food regularly, to make sure our livestock, our produce, our farms, everything is working continuously. Having an actual building that we live in that is safe from forest fires, from flooding, from earthquakes, everything like that. We have to work, this generation and next generation, just to be able to do that. If we get out of the system today, it's going to take a long time. This is not going to be easy. You can't sit there and go, oh, I'll accept the money, the fiat currency, but I'm out of the system. No, you can't really accept that fiat currency unless you somehow manage to get them to actually start giving you gold and silver. And if you start managing that, then yes, you can actually stay within the outside, just outside of the system, outside of the corporation, and directly interact with the corporation through gold and silver. They can't do a damn thing against that.
Yep.
But, I mean, do you like the idea that you go down the street, you're driving down the road, and all of a sudden you see flashing lights, and that grip of fear hits your heart? I mean, everybody deals with this. They're like, oh shit, what do I do now? What am I going to have to pay? Oh shit, the pirates are after my ass now. Anytime a loud knock comes at the door, especially whenever you got these riots happening, you're thinking, is it the rioters? Is it the police? What?
Right.
You're in fear right now. Would you rather not have fear and just every day working to survive and working to actually, work until come wintertime, you can sit there and read, and make sure you have a nice fire to relax by. That's what I'm working towards. I'm working towards freedom and getting. I love computers. I love technology, but I'm willing to give it all up to have a nice life out there in the forest, away from all this toxicity of modern society, because modern society is nothing but neighbor against neighbor. If you spank your child, most are worried, if I spank my child, CPS is going to come to my door, and 90% of the time they are. And CPS,
That depends on your bad neighbors.
everybody's got bad neighbors, Ed. Everybody.
I know.
So effectively, are you tired of being in fear? I mean, yeah, fear for life is okay. Fear for just existing? No wonder so many are on medication and anti-anxiety pills and stuff. Antidepressants. Because they are leeching the life force. What makes this country great. They've been leeching it for the past 3 generations or more. You ever wonder what it's like to be?
I would say more.
You ever wonder what it's like to be a black man from the 1930s, 1940s, where they're always worried about saying the wrong thing, always worried about retribution for going down the wrong street or looking at somebody wrong? Look at your life right now.
I always love it when they always say, yes, massa, yes, massa. No, it pisses me off when they do that.
Well, the thing is, look at your life right now. You are living that exact same existence. Think about it. Seriously. You are this slave. And with that, I'm closing. You guys have fun, and we will see you next week.